You wake up at 2:30 in the morning, eyes open, wide open. No alarm, no noise, no obvious reason, just awake. And your brain, which should absolutely not be this alert right now, immediately starts running through everything you didn't finish yesterday, everything you have to do tomorrow, and every decision you've ever made that you're not completely at peace with. Sound familiar? Millions of people experience this exact thing, this mysterious middle-of-the-night wakefulness, and most of them assume they're just light sleepers, or anxious people, or that this is simply what getting older feels like. They've accepted it. They keep a podcast queued up for when it happens, or they scroll their phone until they drift off around 4 a.m., waking up 2 hours later feeling like they've been hit by something heavy. Here's what almost nobody tells you. That 2 a.m. wake-up is not random. It has a biological cause, 2 of them actually, and once you understand what's driving it, you can fix it. Not with medication, not with complicated protocols, with specific evidence-based changes that work with your body's chemistry instead of against it. And this isn't just a video about sleeping through the night. It's about what sleep is actually doing to your body every single night, and what happens to your health, your brain, your heart, and how long you live when you get it right. The research here is striking. Optimizing your sleep is associated with up to 4.7 additional years of life for men and 2.4 years for women. More years, more functional, energetic, disease-free years. Let's talk about how to get there. What sleep is actually doing while you're unconscious. Most people treat sleep as downtime, the gap between one productive day and the next. That is completely backwards. Sleep is arguably the most biologically active period of your entire 24 hours. Your brain is consolidating memories. Your immune system is running repair operations. Your body is regulating insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. Your cardiovascular system is getting a necessary pressure reduction. Your cells are clearing metabolic waste, including proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. And your hormonal system is resetting the balance it needs to function the next day. Every one of those processes depends on the quality and depth of your sleep, not just whether you were technically unconscious for 7 hours. Research on military snipers found that with reduced sleep, their accuracy dropped to a degree comparable to functional impairment. The same cognitive and physical degradation shows up across everyday tasks and professions. Most people running on poor sleep have no idea how much of their capacity they're leaving on the table every single day. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a biological requirement on par with food and water. The 2 hidden culprits behind terrible sleep. Most sleep advice focuses on what you do at bedtime, but that misses the deeper causes. 2 biological disruptions that undermine your rest no matter how perfect your routine is. The first is cortisol imbalance, the second is blood sugar instability. And in many people, particularly those waking between 1 and 4 in the morning, both are happening at once. Cortisol, the wired but tired problem. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In a healthy system, it follows a clear arc. It rises pre-dawn, peaks shortly after waking, and gradually declines through the day, reaching its lowest levels at night to allow sleep. That rhythm is everything. When it's working properly, you feel alert in the morning and genuinely tired by evening. But chronic stress, and this means all stress, not just the psychological kind, but poor diet, excessive screen time, inflammation, lack of movement, irregular schedules, keeps the HPA axis in a state of low-level activation. Cortisol stops following its natural arc. Instead of declining at night, it stays elevated. Or it spikes at 2 in the morning when your body decides it needs emergency alertness. The result is what many people describe as wired but tired. Exhausted in every functional sense, but unable to sleep deeply or stay asleep. Your nervous system is running on background fight or flight, and deep sleep is incompatible with fight or flight. Elevated nighttime cortisol suppresses slow-wave sleep needed for physical repair, fragments REM sleep your brain needs for emotional regulation, and raises heart rate and blood pressure when both should be low. And it creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep raises cortisol further, which makes the next night worse. Blood sugar, why you wake at 2 a.m. When blood glucose drops too low overnight, from a high-sugar evening meal, undereating during the day, alcohol or insulin sensitivity issues, your body triggers a counter-regulatory response. It releases cortisol and adrenaline to mobilize glucose and bring blood sugar back up. Those hormones are designed to activate you. They raise heart rate, increase alertness, and can cause night sweats or a sudden anxious feeling. You fall asleep fine at 11. Then, around 2 or 3, your glucose dips, cortisol surges, and your eyes open. Heart beating a little faster, mind already moving, and you lie there for 90 minutes wondering why your brain won't stop. That's not insomnia in the traditional sense. That's a metabolic event with a sleep consequence. Once you understand this, the solutions become specific. Stabilize your blood sugar throughout the day, stop eating heavily before bed, and manage the cortisol rhythm. And this pattern of middle-of-the-night waking often resolves within days to weeks. The system that governs everything. Cortisol rhythms, blood sugar handling, melatonin, sleep architecture. All of it is ultimately coordinated by your circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour biological clock. The master clock is a cluster of neurons in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It coordinates peripheral clocks in essentially every organ, your liver, heart, pancreas, immune system, using signals called zeitgebers. Primarily light, but also meal timing and activity patterns. When the system is properly calibrated, everything runs in synchrony. Cortisol rises at the right time. Melatonin rises at the right time. Blood sugar handling peaks at the right time. Sleep is easy and restorative. When it's out of sync, because of inconsistent schedules, excessive artificial light at night, late meals or irregular activity, every downstream process gets disrupted. This is where modern life creates problems. Late screens, dim indoor mornings with no sunlight, eating late, variable bedtimes. We've built an environment that chronically sends the wrong signals to the most important timing system in our biology. The goal isn't finding the perfect supplement or the right mattress. The goal is restoring the signals your internal clock needs to do its job. Anchor your wake time. The single most powerful thing you can do is wake up at the same time every day. Not roughly the same time, including weekends, including nights you went to bed late. Research on sleep regularity has found that high consistency is associated with a 30 to 38% lower risk of all-cause mortality compared to irregular sleepers. Consistent wake time anchors your suprachiasmatic nucleus, giving every downstream hormonal event, cortisol rise, melatonin onset, temperature changes, a reliable timing reference. There's also a concept called social jet lag. If you wake at 6:30 during the week and sleep until 9:30 on weekends, that's a 3-hour time zone shift twice a week. Studies link each hour of weekend sleep delay to measurable increases in cardiovascular disease risk, metabolic disruption, and inflammation. Pick a realistic wake time. Protect it. This is where everything else builds from. The morning signal your biology needs. Within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, get outside into natural light. Your eyes contain specialized melanopsin cells that are specifically sensitive to natural daylight wavelengths. When those cells receive that signal, they transmit it to your master clock. It is morning. Suppress remaining melatonin. Initiate cortisol rise. Start the countdown timer that triggers melatonin again approximately 14 hours from now. Without that signal, if you stay indoors under artificial lighting, which is 10 to 50 times dimmer than outdoor light even on a cloudy day, your clock gets a weak, ambiguous message. Melatonin lingers. Cortisol doesn't peak properly. And by evening, the melatonin that should make you sleepy is delayed or blunted. 20 to 30 minutes of outdoor morning light, no sunglasses, not through a window, consistently moves the needle. In limited daylight seasons, a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp produces comparable results. Blue light actually has a dark side. In the 2 hours before bed, most people are actively dismantling any chance of restorative sleep without realizing it. Let's understand what screens are actually doing to you after dark. The problem is blue light. The wavelength range between 460 and 480 nanometers emitted by phones, tablets, laptops, and indoor LED lighting. These are the same wavelengths your melanopsin cells use to determine time of day. Sitting on your phone at 10 p.m. sends a signal to your master clock that it's still midday. Melatonin, which should be rising to prepare your body for sleep, stays suppressed. Cortisol stays elevated. One study found that tablet use before bed reduced melatonin by 55% and delayed sleep onset by 90 minutes. A Harvard study showed blue light shifted circadian rhythms by 3 hours, compared to 90 minutes for other wavelengths. 3 hours. That is not a minor inconvenience. It is a fundamental disruption of your sleep architecture. A screen curfew of 60 to 90 minutes before sleep makes a real difference. Use warm-toned lighting in the evening, orange or amber rather than cool white. If you need screens later, strong amber-tinted blue light-blocking glasses genuinely help with melatonin preservation. And begin reducing overall stimulation as you approach bedtime. The drop from daytime arousal to sleep-ready takes time. Give your nervous system that transition window. The environment your body needs. Your sleep environment is either working for your biology or against it. 3 variables dominate. Temperature first. For sleep onset and maintenance, your core body temperature needs to drop by roughly 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. A warm room actively resists this process. The research-supported range is 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 15 to 19 Celsius. That's cooler than most people keep their bedrooms. For every degree above the optimal range, sleep efficiency measurably drops, wake time increases, and time in restorative deep sleep decreases. Darkness second. Even the small glow of a charging cable, a street lamp through thin curtains, or a TV standby light can suppress melatonin and elevate nighttime arousal. Blackout curtains or a sleep mask are worth taking seriously. This isn't overthinking it. It's respecting the light sensitivity of the system that governs your entire sleep architecture. Noise third. Sounds above roughly 35 decibels cause microarousals you often don't register as waking, but that fragment your sleep and reduce time in deep and REM stages. White noise or a fan works by masking sudden changes, a door closing, traffic, that would otherwise trigger those arousals. And use the bed for sleep and intimacy only. If you regularly watch TV, work, or lie awake worrying in bed, your brain learns to associate that space with wakefulness. That conditioning, reinforced over months, is one of the genuine mechanisms behind chronic insomnia. What and when you eat. Finish eating at least 3 hours before bed. Late digestion raises core body temperature and insulin levels at exactly the time both should be declining. A heavy or high glycemic evening meal sets up the blood sugar spike and crash sequence that triggers the cortisol surge at 2 a.m. Throughout the day, if you're skipping meals, eating high glycemic foods without fiber or protein to buffer absorption, or dramatically undereating and then eating a large meal late, all of those patterns contribute to overnight blood sugar instability. Some people actually sleep better with modest, complex carbohydrates at dinner: sweet potato, brown rice, legumes. This is because complex carbs support the tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin pathway. The key word is complex, not refined sugar or processed snacks before bed. The difference in your overnight glucose curve is substantial. On alcohol, it sedates you, which is why people associate it with better sleep. But it suppresses REM sleep and causes a rebound arousal effect in the second half of the night. You sleep 7 hours and feel like you slept 4. The sedation was not restorative sleep. The biology was being suppressed, not restored. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, adenosine being the chemical that builds sleep pressure throughout the day. With a half-life of roughly 6 hours, a 3 p.m. coffee still has significant active caffeine at 9 p.m. You may fall asleep fine, but that residual caffeine reduces the proportion of deep, slow-wave sleep you get. The sleep happens, but the restoration is partial. Moving your body in the right way at the right time. Exercise is one of the most powerful sleep interventions available. It increases adenosine buildup, directly adding to sleep pressure. It promotes deeper, slow-wave sleep by triggering core temperature rise followed by the drop that signals sleep readiness. It improves insulin sensitivity, directly addressing blood sugar instability. And it reduces anxiety and inflammatory markers that fragment rest. A morning walk combines movement, adenosine buildup, and light exposure simultaneously. 3 independent sleep-improving signals in 30 minutes. On timing, morning to early afternoon exercise is optimal. Vigorous, high-intensity exercise within 1 to 2 hours of bedtime can elevate cortisol and raise core temperature when both should be declining. Restorative yoga in the evening is especially effective for reducing evening cortisol and activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Poses like legs up the wall, reclined spinal twist, and supported bridge, held passively for several minutes, engage the vagus nerve and physically transition your body out of the day's sympathetic activation. Even 15 to 20 minutes changes the neurological state you arrive at sleep with. Managing the mental load before bed. Unresolved worries and incomplete tasks don't get processed during a busy, distracted day, so they surface at night when everything is quiet. Writing down your concerns, incomplete tasks, and a brief plan for tomorrow about an hour before sleep externalizes the cognitive load. Your prefrontal cortex engages with the material and creates some sense of closure. The amygdala gets less activation at night because the unfinished business has already been acknowledged. This isn't journaling for catharsis. It's specifically about emptying the active mental queue so your brain isn't running a background process at full power while you're trying to sleep. Morning meditation compounds this over time. A consistent morning practice gradually lowers your baseline level of physiological arousal, so the evening drop to sleep ready becomes shorter and less effortful. The supplements that actually have evidence. Most sleep supplements have weak evidence. A few have genuine, replicated research. Magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams before bed, is well supported. Magnesium plays a direct role in GABA production, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter that calms nervous system activity. It also helps regulate cortisol and muscle relaxation. Deficiency is common in modern diets, and supplementing the glycinate form has high bioavailability. Ashwagandha, standardized extracts like KSM-66 at 300 to 600 milligrams daily, has shown significant reductions in perceived stress, serum cortisol, and insomnia severity across multiple randomized trials and meta-analyses. It's not a sedative. It works by modulating the HPA axis over 4 to 8 weeks, bringing elevated cortisol toward a normal pattern. Low-dose melatonin, 0.5 milligram to 3 milligrams, is most useful as a circadian signal, not a sedative. It helps when your rhythm is disrupted from travel, shift work, or inconsistent schedules. Take it 60 to 90 minutes before intended sleep time. Quality matters. Independent testing has found products containing anywhere from near zero to several times the labeled dose, so choose third-party certified brands. A warm bath before bed is worth mentioning. When you soak in warm water and then get out, rapid heat release from dilated blood vessels produces a core temperature drop that directly assists sleep onset. The folk wisdom was right, just not for the reason people usually think. The root cause many people never check. There is one thing that can undermine every strategy in this video if it goes unaddressed: sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is a condition where the airway repeatedly collapses during sleep, causing breathing pauses that can occur dozens to hundreds of times per night. Each event triggers a microarousal, often below the threshold of conscious waking, but enough to prevent restorative deep sleep. The symptoms look exactly like chronic stress and cortisol imbalance: waking at 1 to 4 a.m., feeling wired but tired, morning grogginess despite adequate hours, low energy, mood dysregulation. Every apnea event activates the sympathetic nervous system and the HPA axis. Repeated hundreds of times per night, this produces sustained elevation of cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory markers. Blood sugar rises during these episodes rather than stabilizing. The entire hormonal picture looks like severe chronic stress because, from your body's perspective, that's exactly what it is. Effective treatment, typically CPAP therapy, normalizes cortisol rhythms, stabilizes overnight glucose, and in large analyses has been associated with a 37% reduction in all-cause mortality and a 55% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. If you snore regularly, often wake unrefreshed despite adequate hours, or have implemented the strategies in this video with limited results, get evaluated. Home sleep apnea tests are widely available. Untreated sleep apnea does not respond to sleep hygiene. It requires its own solution, and finding that solution can be genuinely transformative. What this adds up to over a lifetime. Chronically poor sleep is independently associated with increased risk of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and cognitive decline. It accelerates the accumulation of proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. It disrupts the appetite hormones ghrelin and leptin, making you genuinely hungrier the next day and less able to register fullness, which is a significant part of why sleep deprivation and weight gain are so consistently linked. A major meta-analysis of 65 clinical trials found that improving sleep quality produced meaningful positive effects on depression, anxiety, stress, and rumination, with a clear dose response. The better your sleep improves, the greater the mental health benefit. Healthy sleep patterns across duration, quality, regularity, and the absence of disturbances are associated with 4.7 additional years of life for men and 2.4 for women. Every system in your body is downstream of sleep quality. Nutrition, exercise, stress management, metabolic health, all are meaningfully affected by what happens during those nighttime hours, which means improving your sleep is not one health goal among many. It is the foundation that makes every other health goal more achievable. Putting it into practice. Start with consistent wake time plus morning light. These two habits, done daily for 2 to 3 weeks, begin restructuring your cortisol rhythm, stabilizing melatonin timing, and improving sleep pressure buildup. Then layer in the evening changes: screen curfew, dimmer warm lighting, no heavy meals in the 3 hours before sleep. If you're drinking alcohol regularly, reducing it will likely produce a noticeable change within the first week. Optimize the environment. Lower the temperature, use blackout curtains, address noise. These are one-time changes that passively improve every night of sleep going forward. Add the stress management practice, the evening brain dump of worries and tasks, and a morning mindfulness habit if you can sustain it. Include regular exercise, kept to earlier in the day for intense sessions. Magnesium glycinate before bed and ashwagandha daily are the best supported supplement starting points. Melatonin helps for circadian recalibration when schedules have been irregular. And if you've done all of this consistently for several weeks and you're still waking repeatedly, still feeling unrested, get evaluated for sleep apnea. It is more common than most people realize, completely treatable, and the one root cause that nothing else in this video can fix. Your sleep quality is not fixed. Your cortisol rhythm can be recalibrated. Your blood sugar stability can be improved. Your circadian clock can be re-anchored. Your sleep environment can be made genuinely conducive to the deep, restorative rest your body is designed to have. The biology is on your side. It wants to work. It just needs the right inputs. You now have a clear picture of what those inputs are, why each of them matters, and how they connect to your long-term health. The path from here is consistent implementation, not all at once, not perfectly, but deliberately, starting with what moves the needle most. Better sleep is one of the most direct investments you can make in how long you live and how well you live while you're here. If this kind of content, practical, grounded in actual science, designed to make a real difference, is what you're looking for, subscribe and stay around. There's a lot more to come.